It's time to give you some updated Dynasty Cornerstone rankings. It's been multiple weeks since the NFL draft, and the dust is kind of starting to settle. So I'm going to give you my rankings for the best players under the age of 25. 24 years old or younger at the time of recording. Those are the only players that will be mentioned on today's video. No, that doesn't mean you can't build around guys who are 25 and older. But you won't see names like Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Trey McBride. This doesn't mean you can't build around those names. It just means they don't meet the requirement for today's video. And yes, there'll be someone who comments, I think Trey McBride should be on here. Well, just watch the beginning of the video. I mean, come on. Also, we're not going to include quarterbacks because it just would get too messy, all right, in a Superflex format. All right, let's start with Tier 1A. I value the players in Tier 1A and 1B very similarly, but there is one cornerstone player in my experience that is pretty much impossible to trade for. We're talking mission impossible, all right? We're talking, Cruz doing his own stunts impossible. Honestly, this might be the most difficult player to trade for in all of Dynasty football right now. Not the most expensive, but the most difficult player to trade for. That is Malik Neighbors. There's a reason why. He had a historically good rookie season with guys who working at your local Walmart throwing him the football. All right, here's a list of wide receivers in the last 25 years who in their rookie season had 90 receptions, 125 targets, and 1,200 receiving yards. There are 4 names that have done that in the last 2.5 decades. Anquan Bolden, Odell Beckham Jr., Puka Nacua, and Malik Neighbors. There's a reason this kid is so hard to get your hands on because we all saw what he was possible with a Mickey Mouse offense and quarterback. What happens if they improve that and they have added so much to their quarterback room through Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, through the draft with Jackson Dart? So we all believe that Malik Neighbors is going to improve, which is why it's impossible to get him. All right, here's Tier 1B. I still like all these guys as much as Neighbors, but they're just easier to acquire in my opinion. Names like Jahmyr Gibbs, still incredibly difficult to acquire, but Jahmyr Gibbs here, second overall. Last year finished as the RB1 overall. The RB2 in points per game at 21.3 PPR points per game. Right behind him is Bijan Robinson. Last year, the RB3 overall finished, RB3 in points per game as well at 20.1 points per game. I genuinely do not care how you rank these guys. I don't care if you have Bijan over Gibbs or Gibbs over Bijan. That is the whole point of tiers. I try to explain this every video, but people always have a problem. Well, why is this guy ranked ahead of this guy in this tier? Look at them as bucketed values, all right? I value all the players in the tier that they're in similarly. I don't care if you have them ranked in different orders, right? But these are 2 top 15 picks in the NFL draft that have proven they are elite dynasty assets. At number 4, we have a guy who's about to join them, Mr. Ashton Jeanty. What a special group Jeanty is joining historically. If you look at running backs drafted in the top 10 since 2014, we're talking about Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, Leonard Fournette, Christian McCaffrey, Zeke Elliott, Todd freaking Gurley. I would be absolutely shocked if he fails in the NFL. His game is so translatable. I think you can ask him to carry your entire offense from day one, and he's going to do that. At number 5, Brian Thomas. Again, don't care if you have this guy at number 2. That's why we're talking about tiers here, bucketed values. But earlier we talked about a list of players that accomplished a certain number in their rookie season with Malik Neighbors. Well, let's actually just tweak that. And the only thing we're changing here is 5 less receptions. So here's a list of wide receivers in the last 2.5 decades as rookies who had 85 plus receptions, 125 targets, and 1,200 yards. This list now goes from 4 to 6 names, and we're adding on Justin freaking Jefferson and Brian Thomas Jr. Brian Thomas Jr., since the NFL draft, for some reason, is becoming easier to acquire. I don't understand it. He's already proven how freaking talented he is. You can use him all over the field. This is not just a deep threat. You can use him in the screen game, in the slant game, intermediate. He obviously can stretch the field and make the big plays down the field, but he is a special player. He had a special, unique rookie season. Yes, I love Travis Hunter. Yes, I compared Travis Hunter to CeeDee Lamb as far as play style goes. But do not let that scare you off of Brian Thomas. The offense is about to be elite. I truly believe that. I know this is crazy saying this because we're talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars, okay? But the reality is I believe this is about to be an elite offense. With Liam Cohen being there, with Brian Thomas, with Travis Hunter, I think you're going to see them take a massive step in points per game, and Brian's going to be a big part of that. At number 6, in a tight end premium, you can probably advocate for these names being higher. So it depends on what sort of premium you're in, but let's just say 0.5 for this video. This is where I will put Mr. Brock Bowers. Historically, we're talking about a lot of history on today's, video. This is not the History Channel if you just tuned in, although, shout out to David Attenborough and all those people. But I don't know what I'm talking about. Get back to the video, Zach. But the reason we're talking about so much history is because the 2024 class just made history on history on history. They're going to make their own museum at some point, right? Historically, the best rookie tight end of all time, the most receptions by a rookie tight end all time with 112. That is 26 more than the previous record holder, Sam Laporta, who had the record 1 year before. Again, 26 more receptions. He also had the most receiving yards by a rookie all time at the tight end spot with 1,194. That's 118 more than the previous record holder, Mike Ditka. But the reality is Ditka only played 14 games, so what Ditka did was probably more impressive there in that category. And of course, Brock Bowers finished as the tight end one. And despite all these records, guys, check this out. Listen here for a second. There's more upside with Brock Bowers left to be found because he finished 22nd all time for receiving touchdowns by a rookie tight end. And I'm saying that because there is still so much ceiling to tap into. What can he be with a competent quarterback? We'll find out here with Geno Smith. At number 7, Mr. Puka Nacua, who has just in back-to-back seasons, his first 2 years in the NFL, proven that he's an elite dynasty asset. 17.6 PPR points per game as a rookie, the wide receiver 6 on a points per game basis. Then in 2024, 18.8, the second best wide receiver on a points per game basis last year. In a weird year, where wide receivers were down in scoring, but Puka Nacua still found a way to put up numbers. He's going to be the number one for that offense for a long, long time. All right, let's get into tier 3 here now, okay? This is where I think there's a break in how I value these players. Starting off with Mr. London. All right, London Town, London Ting, yeah? Drake London, yes. All right, let's get on track here. The small amount of Michael Penix that we saw was incredibly beneficial for Drake London. Now, people, talk about how, well, Drake London only averaged like 15 points per game with Kirk Cousins, and Kirk Cousins was a good quarterback. I'm sorry, what football were you watching? Kirk Cousins was dog shit last year, respectfully. He was one of the worst starters in the NFL. He was truly woeful, awful, absolutely terrible. So if you look at games with Michael Penix versus without, so we're talking about the in split. The in split on the left side, you're going to see games with Michael Penix. On the right side, you're going to see games without Michael Penix, a.k.a. Why did I do a British accent there? AKA Kirk Cousins on the right-hand side. So with Penix, we're averaging about 19 points per game compared to 15, almost 11 targets per game compared to almost 9, and the receiving yards go up by about 30 receiving yards per game. The point is, we don't even know what Penix and London can be yet, but we have seen a small sample size, and it's been very, very promising. At number 9, how about Mr. Jackson Smith-Njigba, who from week 9 onwards just dominated in Seattle, man. I love to see it. Any JSN truthers out there waiting for this breakout. From week 9 onwards, that's what we're going to call the money stretch in a lot of our content, weeks 9 to 10 onwards. That's where we see a lot of the trends that carry on from one year to the next. But from week 9 onwards, that money stretch, he was 9th in receptions, 9th in receiving yards, finished as the wide receiver 8 in that span on a points per game basis, and the wide receiver 7 overall. Now, DK Metcalf has moved on. Even with Cooper Kupp in the building, JSN is going to be the wide receiver 1 on this team. He's going to funnel all the targets through him. I would not be surprised if we're talking about like 140 targets in this upcoming season. At number 10, how about Ladd McConkey? Ladd McConkey had such a good season, and in almost any other rookie year, people would just be nonstop talking about him. Y'all know we love Ladd McConkey on the channel. Ladd, the space creator, is what we called him last year. We're still calling that because the man is creating space like crazy if you look at reception perception. But let's have a look again historically at a list here. And we'll make it simple for this one. 80 plus receptions as a rookie and 1,100 receiving yards as a rookie. When we look at that sort of database here, we're talking about 10 total receivers in the last 2.5 decades. All right. So we talked about the Brian Thomas list, but now add on names like Michael Thomas, Jamar Chase, Michael Clayton, and Ladd McConkey. These are the only 10 receivers who have done that in the last 2.5 decades. Do not sleep on Ladd McConkey. It's a clear to me and evident what they've did this offseason is Ladd McConkey's their number 1 option. And they want names like Mike Williams to stretch the field. They want Trey Harris to become something on the outside. But Ladd McConkey, the offense is going to funnel through him. Make no mistake. Draft with me every night this offseason on the FastDraft app, where there are over $250,000 in prizes waiting to be won. Getting started is easy. Download the FastDraft app, use the promo code LAND at signup to get your deposit match up to $50. That is 10 free drafts on us. And when you finish your first real money contest, I'll send you my 2025 rookie report and season rankings completely free. Check out the link in the pinned comment to start drafting today. At number 11, Marvin Harrison Jr. Look, full transparency, it was not a good rookie year, right? He did not live up to his expectations. We have said that many times on this channel, and no, you can't just blame it on Kyler Murray. However, not every rookie comes out the gates firing. Some rookies need some time to really transition. And yes, Kyler Murray could have helped him a little bit more. He could have helped Kyler Murray a little bit more, but I still believe in that elite prospect that we labeled him before the NFL draft. I'm going to be patient with him and still value him very highly. At number 12, Omarion Hampton. First round running backs have the highest chance at hitting superstar status, which is a top 12 points per game season for our running backs and wide receivers, at 78.6%. So betting on Omarion Hampton is a very safe and smart bet to make historically since 2014. I'm expecting a Josh Jacobs rookie type of season. Do you remember what Josh Jacobs did as a rookie with the Raiders? I'm expecting that type of workload, that type of fantasy success here in year number 1. All right, let's move on to tier number 4. 2 wide receivers we'll talk about here. Travis Hunter, T-Mac, Tet McMillan. You can't say Tet anymore, apparently. But both are in great company historically, really. Like if you look at, wide receivers who have been drafted in the top 10 since 2014, it's great company to be amongst. There have been 15 names. We're talking Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, Adunze, London, Garrett Wilson, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, Mike Williams, Amari Cooper, Sammy Watkins, and Mike Evans. And the 3 names that really busted were Corey Davis, John Ross, and Kevin White. Those are really the 3 names out of now 17, 15, 17 when you add Hunter and McMillan, but 15 that really you could say were busts. So they have a great chance based off of where other players have gone in the NFL draft to be incredible dynasty assets for you. Then we've got another group here of Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, the Ohio State running backs, who both should dominate touches from day one in their offenses. Second round running backs have the 3rd highest chance at hitting superstar status at 41.7%, which is far higher than a first round wide receiver. Keep that in mind. But both of these guys are set to absolutely dominate. They have the draft capital. They're incredible prospects, great athletic testing. They have all the boxes checked. At number 17, Mr. Bucky Irving. I've seen a lot of people disagree with my love of Bucky Irving, and I think the one thing that keeps coming up is Rachaad White. Well, before the draft, people were telling me the Bucs were going to draft someone. I don't know why, but that's what people were saying. Now, after the draft, people are saying, well, Rachaad White is still there. Please, I'm begging you to unburden yourself right now, all right? If you're thinking about Rachaad White at all whatsoever in any conversation, let me please help you unburden yourself. Wake up. Rachaad White is a nothing burger at this point. Bucky, keep this in mind. He did not take over this job until after their bye week in week 12. If you look from weeks 1 to 11, yes, Rachaad White was the lead back, but it wasn't by much. Bucky was very clearly coming on his heels for that job, right? But, I just heard it. Okay. From weeks 12 to 18, though, you see Bucky Irving very clearly the dominant running back in this backfield in that money stretch, if you will. Then, if you count the last 2 games of the season, right, which is a regular season game and the playoff game, these were must-win games. Shout out to Matthew Betts over on Twitter. You can see Bucky Irving had 36 carries to Rachaad White's 1. Bucky Irving had 7 targets to Rachaad White's 2. And if you actually do the quick math on that, you'll see in must-win games last year, Bucky Irving had 21.5 touches, while Rachaad White had 1.5. Why are we stop talking about Rachaad White, please? All right, you are completely missing everything here. It feels like similar to when people were talking about Raheem Mostert last year with Devon Achane. And I even fell into that trap a little bit myself. I'm asking you to wake up. This team already showed us last year what they thought of Bucky Irving. At number 18, Devon Achane. No problem at all. If you want to put him higher than the running backs on this list, again, that's why we have bucketed values. But Devon Achane, easily could have led the running backs in targets and could have reached over 100 targets. Actually, with the way that they were using him, you just have to hope that Tua is healthy. At number 19, Garrett Wilson. Not going to lie, I wasn't 100% sure if I should put him in this tier. Like, full transparency, maybe I should have made a tier 4B. I don't value Garrett Wilson the way I value these other names, and maybe that makes me crazy, but I really think this is a make or break year for him. Can Justin Fields support him as a number one wide receiver as a top 12 finish? Because if the answer is no, you're going to start to see the DJ Moore type of career arc here for Garrett Wilson in Dynasty football, where everyone's going to start to make a case against him. But for now, just based off the talent, I'm happy to put him there. Into tier number 5, we've got about 6 names here. All right, starting with Breece Hall. Man, it's an interesting case with Breece Hall, isn't it? Because year 1, he was pretty much elite when he was on the field. Year 2, he was elite when he was on the field. And then year 3, things were just up and down. But to be fair, how much can we blame Breece Hall? This entire offense was dysfunctional. Since the Aaron Rodgers era, this entire thing has been completely dysfunctional from top to bottom. I'm still betting on a bounce back year after the NFL draft. They didn't add anyone. So you're telling me that Breece Hall has to compete with Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis? I'm sorry. I think Breece Hall is going to shine this year. I still do. At 21, Roma Dunze. Man. I mean, the draft couldn't have gone worse for Roma Dunze and DJ Moore. I love Luther Burden, right? Y'all know this, but I was so ready to label Roma Dunze like the breakout star of the 2025 year. And now I just don't know. I still need time to digest this. This is one offense that I don't have my mind wrapped around fully. I'm about to project out, stats for the entire season. And I have no idea how to project that Chicago Bears wide receiver room. At 22, Kyren Williams, still very young. Still the lead back here in Los Angeles until things change. But I am a little bit concerned that they do want to involve a second running back more. They've talked about this offseason, but they said that last offseason they didn't. So it's a little bit of a wait and see. Ken Walker, who is consistently inconsistent. Big games followed by nothing burgers. And, right now he's their lead back, so we'll hold on to that for this season. At 24, Sam Laporta, who had an incredible rookie season, fell off a little bit here, but I do believe he's going to have a bigger role here as I get him more involved in 2025. And then Chris Olave, very talented player who has proven it already. That's why he's in this tier, in tier 5, not tier 6, because he's already proven with competent quarterback play, he can put up a top 24 points per game season. He can have these days where he puts up a 30 bomb, right? He just needs some sort of competent quarterback, and maybe that's Tyler Shuck. Probably not. All right, tier 6. I specifically asked Badaki, who's making our graphics. He's doing great on the back end. I said, Badaki, don't put any ranking number on any of these players in tier 6. Let's just throw up the entire list. I don't care how you rank these guys at all whatsoever. Because you can truly make a case if you're in a tight end premium. Put Loveland and Warren at the top of this. If you're in a tight end, non-tight end premium, put them at the bottom of this list. You can make a case pretty much across the board for any number of these names to be at the top of this tier. Like RJ Harvey, there's a very good chance that he is a lead back in Denver this year and he gets the Alvin Kamara Joker role and he gets a huge workload. In PPR formats, he's fantastic, right? You can make a case for Matthew Golden, in my opinion. There's a bunch of Jags in Green Bay. No, I didn't call Jaden Reed a Jag. People said that in my last video. But with Jaden Reed and Matthew Golden kind of complementing each other, I think Golden has a great chance to be incredible. Egbuka, you're going to have to be patient on. Addison, his ceiling is really a wide receiver too at this point, right? Let's be honest. He's never going to overtake Justin Jefferson. When you look at a name like Zay Flowers, he's the wide receiver 1. Does that mean anything in the Baltimore Ravens offense? I don't know if it does. Xavier Worthy, I prefer Rashee Rice. I think he's the guy in that offense, but he could have a better year too. Ricky Pearsall, we all believe he's going to break out, but he has not yet. Caleb Johnson is in a great situation. I'm not sure what sort of PPR upside there will be there, but he's in a great situation in Pittsburgh. Doesn't have the great draft capital of the other names in this tier. Luther Burden, I put him in there because he's my guy. I am obviously a little bit biased, and I think he could be the Amon-Ra St. Brown for Ben Johnson in this offense. And then Jamison Williams, who had an underrated top 24 finish last year. I don't care how you rank these guys. They're all worthy. You could make a case, and I just kind of made it for you of, any of these guys being valued higher than the other. And the last tier we'll look at is guys that are fighting for a spot. These are guys that are kind of fighting to get into that top 36, if you will. Names like Jaden Higgins, who were just drafted, haven't proven anything. I love their situation. Same thing with Jack Besh. Same thing with Trey Harris. Running backs like Cam Scadaboo, Bashul Tootin, guys that we like but don't have great hit rates historically based off the draft capital. George Pickens, who's about to go from a team that was bottom 5 in passing attempts per game with the Steelers to a team that has been top 5 in passing attempts per game in the past 2 years with the Dallas Cowboys. I think he has a chance to really shine this year. I know not everybody agrees. Trey Benson, I still think he's a great prospect. I think he has a chance to step up this year. Tucker Kraft, if it's a tight end premium, maybe you can put him there. Zach Charbonnet is a handcuff that could start for any team. And Keon Coleman had a nice stretch there last year, but got injured and could never really prove it. So these are guys that are fighting for a spot. And I'm sure there are names that you could throw out there. And, I'm sure there'll be some name that I missed here in the comment section. But that's kind of how I view these names. Would love to hear your opinions. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like the video, subscribe if you like the content, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Nothing but love. If you want an in-depth breakdown of your team with customized trade targets, players to buy, sell, hold, then get your team playbook today by either becoming a yearly Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND or by going directly to the Flock store, regardless of what promo code you're on. And if you want it done live, make sure you get the live tier. Those links are in the pinned comment.